Okay, thank you everybody for joining us here tonight. It is December 21st, our Wednesdays with Dr. Wallach, and we so appreciate you all joining us. And we really do have a great opportunity here to learn how to take care of ourselves and to get the information that we need to make wiser decisions and educated decisions by Dr. Joel Wallach, who's done so much research to help billions of people and animals. And so we just like to thank him for all that he's done, all the research, all the books that he's put together. So we have those resources, at home. And so I'd like to introduce you all to him today. Dr. Joel Wallach, thank you to our call. Call is yours.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Pam and Dave, for putting all this together and making this information available to countless numbers of people. We really appreciate that. It's great teamwork, and we're very, very proud of you and all of your efforts. It's going to pay off in the health of millions. Well, the first thing I want to start out with, there's many things we got to talk about. Of course, there's a holiday season, but I want to talk about new tools we have, some available now, some will be available in about 2 weeks or so forth. And one of my favorites was a movie, Dial M for Murder. I don't know if you remember that movie. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that movie, Dial M for Murder. Well, this is called Dial MD for Murder. It's a CD. It's an hour long, and it's a lot of, what should I say, copies of presentations by government agencies, U.S. government agencies, and also by medical schools, saying that these particular diseases were, there's so many people get injured and killed by the treatments, and they say that the treatments have to stop. And we're talking about heart disease and Alzheimer's disease, and we're talking about cancer, and we're talking about arthritis and osteoporosis. We're talking about liver disease and so forth. And the fact that I've got all this information from medical schools and from the government agencies, and some of them are, like I say, speaking live. Okay, so it's not me. These are not my, what should I say, exposures. This is federal government, USA federal government exposures, and also medical school exposures of medical doctors who are doing the wrong thing, which resulted in a disastrous outcome, aka death, for these patients. So that's available now. Dial MD for Murder. Go ahead and call. You just go ahead to www.drjwallach.com, www.drjwallach.com, and you get the go ahead and order that CD, Dial MD for Murder. Then we have another one. It's a 3 CD set. The title is There's a New Bull in Town. We called it that because we're competing with Red Bull. Red Bull has one mineral in it, magnesium. Our Rebound has 75 minerals in it. Our Rebound has 75 minerals. Our Rebound has, let's see here, 12 vitamins, and Red Bull has 4. And so Red Bull is an energy drink made with sugar, caffeine, and that's sort of the basis of it. Okay, and they're a huge company. They are a huge company. I mean, we're talking billions of 10 billions of cans of Red Bull sold every year. And so just about 2 months ago, a sad thing occurred to Red Bull. One of their co-founders from Austria, not Australia, but Austria. He was big. He was the one going out and giving the lectures and signing up new companies and all this kind of stuff. He was a go-getter, again, from Austria. And he died 2 months ago, just died suddenly. I mean, he wasn't known to be sick, and just bam, he died. And he was, they haven't put out a clear, what should I say, cause of death. Okay. And that occurred 2 months ago. And, but one thing they did say that he was drinking he claimed to be drinking 10 cans of Rebound. No, I take that back. He'd still be alive. He drank 10 cans of Red Bull every day for 25 years. Okay. And so I'm sure if that was his only source of minerals and vitamin supplementation, then I can guess why he died. Some of the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, heart disease, and that kind of stuff, sudden heart death in young athletes. And so he was 78 years old and, still working 20 hours a day and everything like that. Didn't have any known or advertised illnesses and just dropped dead. Okay. So we'll find out more there. Okay. So there's a new bull in town is the name of our 3 CD set. CD number 1 is Dead Athletes Don't Lie. And it's a CD. And basically what we found was young athletes. We're looking at Olympic athletes. We're looking at professional athletes. We're looking at university athletes who died in their 30s and 40s and 50s. Okay. And they didn't, what should I say? They didn't realize that these are all nutritional deficiencies that they died from. And let's see here. The second CD is Exercise Without Supplementation and Suicide. And this is a collection of, again, athletes, of people who are big corporation CEOs and big corporation owners and so on, presidents. And they were famous for exercising and being out and about and so forth. And there are many on this CD, which you'll be familiar with, who died, and all because they weren't taking the 90 essential nutrients. They died because when you sweat, when you're working out and you're sweating, or you're working in a garden, hoeing the garden, or exercising, you're sweating out all your minerals. And if you're not putting them back in faster than you're sweating them out, you're going to get some bad results. Okay. And that's what was happening here in the CD, Dead Athletes Don't Lie, and the CD, Exercise Without Supplementation and Suicide. The third one in the set is What Kills Billionaires. The average life expectancy of athletes in America, professional athletes in America, is 57.8. 57.8. That's the average life expectancy of professional athletes in America. The average lifespan of, let's see here, emergency room doctors is 56. The average lifespan of billionaires in America is 66.7. Now you can imagine billionaires can afford any medicine, they can afford any doctor, they can afford any procedure. So why are they dying at 66.7? That's because they're eating gluten, they're eating buckwheat with phagopyrines in it. They're eating, big meal, $200 meals for one person, and these big restaurants and everything, getting every kind of gluten you can think of. And they don't tend to supplement. And if they do supplement, they're not absorbing it because their intestines are dead from eating all that gluten and buckwheat and drinking wheat bran around oats, as whiskey and beer and that kind of stuff at events and so on. And so these two sets, well, the one is not a set, it's just a single CD, Dial MD for Murder. And the second one is a 3 CD set. It's available now. We don't have the labels being printed for the container for the 3. If you want to get them right now, you can get them, but you won't get the container that, okay. You just get them with some bubble wrap and so forth. But if you want to wait another, like a week or so, you'll get the 3 in the container with a label on it. And number 3, they're being printed now as we speak. Okay, or being recorded, being recorded as we speak. These again are CDs, 10 CDs, 10 different subjects, and the title of it and the label and the carrying box is all already determined and purchased. That's ready to go. So they're just in the process of doing the last minute editing and so forth. Okay, and we'll print tens of thousands of these because they're going to go crazy. Okay. 10 healthy secrets doctors don't want you to know. 10 healthy secrets doctors don't want you to know. It goes into so many of these common diseases. We know how to prevent. We know how to reverse. We know how to deal with it very economically and so forth. But it means they're going to have to give up a fairly large part of their practice because they make their living by treating people for 3, 5, 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 years for these diseases. Okay. And it's one of those things where I'll just give them a little bit of slack and assume they're still following the practices they did 100 years ago when we didn't know what caused those diseases. But now we know. They've been published. It's been talked about in the media over and over and over and over. So it's not like they shouldn't already know. But we'll give them the benefit out and assume that it hasn't gotten to them, that we know the answers to these things from a nutritional standpoint. So I'm very excited about this, and I invite you to get those things and really, really get busy because people are going to need our help after the holidays. And then I do also want to point out that our Rebound energy drinks were in competition, okay, with Red Bull, as I said. That's why the 3 CD set is called, let me get it right here, okay, 10 healthy secrets that the doctors don't want you to know. And then there's a new bull in town, okay, for the 3 CDs. Okay, there's a new bull in town. Well, the first energy drink, sports drink, was made by Coca-Cola products in 1985. It was called Monster. It was primarily, again, sugar and caffeine and that kind of stuff. And then 2 years later, 1987, this Austrian that started Red Bull came out with Red Bull in 1987. And that's one who just died 2 months ago from some sudden death. We don't know the cause of death yet. They know, but they're not releasing it. And again, Rebound has 75 minerals in it. Red Bull has 1, magnesium. Rebound has 12 vitamins in it. I always say it has 25 vitamins, amino acids, but it's 12 vitamins. And Red Bull has 4. And so it's one of those things where you have to make sure you're getting everything right, and you'll be blessed with an additional 25 years. Okay, I've only got about 3 or 4 minutes left in my segment before we go to Q&A. And I want to remind everybody, Alzheimer's disease, MS, Guillain-Barré syndrome, Parkinson's disease, demyelination of the brain are all caused by deficiencies. None of these are autoimmune. Your body's not attacking itself, as doctors will say. Very simple stuff. And again, I urge you to get the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. Eat 3 eggs twice a day with soft yolks. Get the MSM. Get the collagen peptides. Get the Synaptive. Get the, let's see here, get Memory FX. And get the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets for circulation in the brain. All these diseases go away quickly. We're talking weeks, because none of them are autoimmune, none of them are genetic, none of them are due to age. They're all due to just simple nutritional deficiencies. Okay. Now that said, I'm going to go to Dave and Pam, and let's go to questions.
Can you hear me okay? Hi, Dr. Wall. Okay, thank you so much. And that's some powerful information there. I don't see any hands raised yet, but I had some people asking me about maltodextrin.
Okay, well, maltodextrin is a sugar.
Mm-hmm.
That's as clear as I can say it. It's an energy nutrient. Okay, it's sugar.
Okay, and with people that have diabetes, what would you say about them having products with maltodextrin in them?
Well, they shouldn't have diabetes, type 2 diabetes longer than just a couple of weeks if they take the healthy blood sugar pack and stay away from all the bad foods. Diabetes is not an age thing. It's not a genetic thing. It's not an autoimmune thing. It's a simple nutritional deficiency. We take people that have been, diabetic for 25 years and 30 years, and in just weeks, it's gone. by getting them off all the bad foods they can absorb. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, no butter, rye, no sugar, no carbonated drinks. And then we get them on, if that's their only problem that they're complaining about is diabetes, we get them on the healthy blood sugar pack. Now, obviously, they're going to be on prescription medication. So we tell them don't cold turkey off your medication, but test yourself every day like you're supposed to. Test your urine, test your blood. And as your blood sugar begins to come down, you can slowly reduce your medication, your prescription medication, based on the numbers. And usually within 2 to 6 weeks, you won't be a diabetic anymore. But you got to get rid of the bad stuff so you can absorb. The bad stuff stops you from absorbing. So, yeah, I tried that, for a month and it didn't do anything for me. Well, did you give up gluten? Well, what's gluten? Well, what do you eat for breakfast? Oh, I eat oatmeal every morning. I've been eating oatmeal my whole life for breakfast. Well, that's why you're not getting any benefit from the supplement program, because oatmeal is gluten and it damages your intestines. Instead of your intestines looking like a shag rug, a lot of surface area, your intestines look like a plastic tube because you've been eating oatmeal for breakfast every morning. And you've lost 90% of your absorptive surface, and all the supplements you've been taking through your mouth are coming out your other end and are winding up in the
South. In the South. So, right. And cross-contamination is a very big thing. So what about people that have breathing issues, like they're using the CPAP machine?
Okay, well, breathing issues, it can be anything from asthma to bronchitis. They can have osteoporosis of the skull, squeezing the 10th cranial nerve. Okay, and of course, my favorite picture in my book, It's All in Your Head, of course, we got the CD and the book, is this one. Okay, the top picture is a normal human skull cut above the ears, above the eyes. You can see the skull is still filled with the brain, but you see the normal skull up top is a 1/4 inch thick. Remember, there's 12 pairs of cranial nerves. There's a spinal cord coming out of the back. So there's 13 tunnels, 12, 24, 25. There's 25 tunnels. Okay, 12 on this side for the 12 pair of cranial nerves, 12 on this side for the 12 cranial nerves, and the tunnel in the back for the spinal cord coming out. When you look at the osteoporosis of the skull in the bottom, instead of being a 1/4 inch thick like the normal skull for a human being, it's 1 1/4 to 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick. And all those tunnels have lost 75% of their internal diameter inside, okay? And so all those nerves in the spinal cord are being squeezed. And that's why you get those kind of problems, okay? It could be, you name it. Like I say, there's 37 different diseases you can get from having osteoporosis of the skull. You take the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, you get off all the bad foods, you get your vitamin D3, you get your MSM, get your collagen peptides, throw in the Beyond OsteoFX, and in weeks, all that stuff goes away, and your skull goes down from 2 inches thick back down to a 1/4 inch thick. Okay, this is not difficult. We've been doing this for a long time, and it dawned on me that medical doctors don't know anything about osteoporosis of the skull. So that's why we came out with the book and the CD 2 years ago now. And that's one of our biggest sellers constantly, okay, because, we're talking about hearing aids. We're talking about people's voice changes and they can't swallow very well and they can't taste food anymore. And that's the 9th cranial nerve. Then they have, they wake up 3, 5, 8 times, 10 times a night to urinate, whether they're male or female. It can't be a prostate problem because females have the problem getting up multiple times a night to urinate. That's because the skull is squeezing the 10th cranial nerve, okay, and also squeezing, let's see here, the 10th cranial nerve, and then also they're squeezing the spinal cord, causing these problems. And this is one of those things where you also get, let's see here, dizziness and balance problems and issues where you need a walker. Again, that's the vestibular branch of the 8th cranial nerve being squeezed. When you get tinnitus ringing in the ears, it's the auditory branch of the 8th cranial nerve being squeezed. All these things are just caused by osteoporosis of the skull. And I just showed you the pictures of why it has such an impact. And the same way with taste, your taste goes away. You lose your vision because of squeezing the optic nerve, which is cranial nerve number 2. You lose your sense of smell. You know, gee, I can't even smell food cooking anymore. My house could burn down. I wouldn't know it because I can't smell the smoke and the fire. Well, that's because the olfactory nerve, number 1, is cranial nerve number 1, gets squeezed by the skull when you have osteoporosis of the skull. And so all these infirmities that are blamed on old age are really, our genetics are really just osteoporosis of the skull, 37 of them. And so we really encourage everybody to get the book and the CD, okay? Best to get them as a set. The CD was added to the book after it was out on the market for a year, and we're getting down low, so we'll be adding some new stuff to the book and the CD both. It's really amazing how many people have been helped, and medical doctors just don't know anything. They're never taught anything about osteoporosis of the skull in medical school.
Thank you, Dr. Wallach. Thank you so much. And so that does explain quite a bit. If we're not using the proper nutrition and we're sleeping improperly, and it's already pinching our necks, 1, 2, 3, whatever, all the way down, and we don't sleep properly, we don't nutrify our bodies properly, we will have these problems. Because if you're sleeping, 5 or 7, 8 hours, and it's in that position, I mean, it's going to stay crinked up, right?
That's correct. And of course, babies can be born with osteoporosis of the skull because the mother's not supplementing properly, or if she is, she's eating gluten and not absorbing it. So the babies are born with osteoporosis of the skull, and it's called Erb's palsy. They're totally paralyzed from the neck down. These babies are born, okay? And so that's one of the reasons why we came out, with the kids toddy, to get the newborn kids on all these nutrients, okay, to deal with Erb's palsy. But if the kid, the mother's not able to breastfeed, or she's breastfeeding and eating gluten, it might be a month before those nutrients are coming through. So you want to get that kids toddy, throw in the dosages on the back label, same for weight and age and so forth. You want to use that same dosage chart for the cherry mints, get a quart of cherry mints to go with it. And don't forget the EFAs, okay, so they don't get asthma. One of the biggest expenses on insurance is they spend $10 million a year. Is it billion? No, billion. It's billion. Yeah, it's a billion. Let me get that up real quick here. Yeah, it's been $10 billion a year, okay, because of kids having osteoporosis of the skull. All right. And it's one of those things where it's just amazing. Okay. And it's easily reversible. Okay. Again, get them on the kids toddy, get them on the cherry mints, and get them on the EFAs. Asthma for kids, you got to be kidding me. $10 billion a year? Holy moly.
Crazy. Yeah, you're right, Dr. Wallach.
That's just the USA.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not difficult. It's actually quite simple. Doctors have made it difficult. So the average person says, well, I got to go see my doctor. I can't figure this out by myself. I just got to go see my doctor. And it's actually quite easy to deal with. Yeah, kids under the age of 10. Oh, no, I was wrong. It's not 10 billion. It's $80 billion. In the United States alone, to treat the symptoms of asthma in kids under the age of 10 in America, it's $80 billion. This is crazy. And of course, this is why doctors like to be pediatricians. This is why doctors like to be respiratory therapists. This is why doctors, like to get in on these things, because that's where the money's at. Oh, also osteoporosis is a big one. Osteoporosis we spend 2.3 trillion with a T, $2.3 trillion just to treat the symptoms of osteoporosis in the United States each year. We spend $626.8 billion a year to treat arthritis. When you combine the two, it's $3 trillion a year we spend on arthritis and osteoporosis therapy, not to prevent or cure, just to treat the symptoms. $3 trillion a year. How does a profession get away with that when it's easily preventable and reversible?
Well, they say follow the money, right, Dr. Wallach?
Say what?
They say follow the money, right?
Yeah.
And so, there's so many people that they don't realize that the asthma and the problems with the breathing may even have something to do with that gluten, and it causes the phlegm.
Yeah, gluten prevents you from absorbing the nutrients you need to have a healthy respiratory system.
And the phlegm. I saw a little girl just who was like trying to, speak, and I thought she was, regurgitating, but she actually had a bunch of phlegm in her mouth. So, I gave her some products and I, told them what they can do. And just to put one finger over one nostril, just to kind of get that breath deep down into the stomach, help that little girl. So,
wow.
And it's just gluten. We don't even realize it. And we just hand these things over to our children, give them a French fry, give them, a little piece of candy to help the medicine go down. And we've been doing it for years. So I'm really grateful, Dr. Wallach, that you opened up.
Well, that's why we're very proud of you as part of the team. And thank you for taking the responsibility to teach so many people your successes, teach them the information so we can spread the message. And you got a great team with you here. Okay, Laura. And so.
Hey, Doc.
Huh?
Yeah, I've got a question you may not have ever heard before. So my friend's wife is, from Korea, and she's been growing mushrooms like everywhere, all over the house, in the shed, in the barn, in the greenhouse. And my friend says she's got mushroom spores all over the place, and she's got this persistent cough, and he thinks like she's in the kitchen doing something with these mushrooms, and he'll wake up and she's asleep on the floor and there's mushroom spores on the floor of the kitchen. He thinks that she's got mushroom spores growing in her lungs. What do you think about that?
Well, that's easily dealt with. She needs to go get an MRI. Okay, get an MRI. Because an X-ray won't show it, but an MRI will.
Right.
Magnetic resonance imaging, okay? Get
And
an
then
MRI.
what happens if, go ahead.
Well, we just have to see what's going on in there. Okay.
Okay.
I would say maybe she just has osteoporosis of the skull, squeezing the spinal cord, and the spinal cord is telling the lungs there's a problem, or squeezing the 10th cranial nerve, and there's a branch that goes to the diaphragm, and it doesn't work very well when it's being squeezed. And so that's why a good present for them would be it's all in your head, the book and the CD, because it goes into some detail in each of these things we're talking about here. Okay?
Yeah, and that's a good idea. We have those books, and we probably should send him one because she's pretty, she's very skeptical about everything, and she does not on the 90. He is. You've saved this man's life. You know who he is. And you guys were both artillerymen, and you saved his life. He was literally almost dead last February, and you should see him now, Doc. It's unbelievable. Nobody can believe it, but yet they still don't believe it, and they won't follow his lead. It's so crazy. Not even his wife. And his wife, she's so sensitive. She can't take, but only a tiny bit of this or that. I said, you need to be sneaking the minerals in her food at the very least to start with. And he said,
do something, do something that tastes good. You can do the rebounds sticks. Remember, there's 75 minerals in the rebound. Okay.
Right.
And then we have there's 30 sticks in a box. We have the rebound canister. There's 36 servings here, got a little scoop, 1 scoop per serving. And then we have 12-ounce cans of Rebound. There's 12 of these cans per case. And, but they do have carbonation in them. So what I do is I pop the tops on 2 of them every night. I put them in the refrigerator. They off gas and get rid of the carbonation during the night. In the morning, they're flat, all the bubbly's gone. And I'll have one with breakfast and one with lunch, or maybe, for 2 hours after lunch. I don't have Rebound after 6 o'clock at night because you won't sleep. But it has 75 minerals in it, okay, and 12 vitamins. It does have a little bit of caffeine, but it has like 10% of the caffeine in Red Bull. And it's one of those things where it does, which I say, it does such a great job when you look at the Rebound, what it does for you with it. It's a nutritional. I cringe when I call it an energy drink, but that's what people get it for. It's an energy drink, a sports drink. And this is the one you want to give your kids and your grandkids. You don't want to be giving them Red Bull because it's just sugar and caffeine. This has 100 nutrients in it. And all these kids that die every year, 2,000 die in America every year from sudden heart death. Athletes, high school and university athletes, 2,000 a year in America alone. Okay. That's because they're just drinking carbonation and sugar and caffeine. Okay. And so you need to get those nutrients while you're getting the energy at the same time. Okay. So that's why we came out with Rebound, so we could fill that gap. Okay.
Okay, thanks so much, Doc.
Okay, God bless.
Yeah, we're right at the top here. Thank you so much, Doc, and Merry Christmas to you and Milan and the whole family. And we love you, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. We love you guys too, and all your team. Thank them for all the great things that they do as an organization. And it's gonna, it's only getting worse because people getting laid off and they're losing their incomes or losing their insurance. They're just eating bad food because bad food is cheap. Okay. And so they got bad diets or bad habits. And Laura, let's get people healthy.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you,
Love you
Dr.
guys.
Wallach.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas,
See you next
everybody.
week. Bye-bye. Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you. See you next week.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, is the meeting started yet?